Gender Role and Conformity and Its Effects on Life Satisfaction by Karleigh Lewis. We spend our lives trying to do things and surround ourselves with people who make us happy. This is because we believe that happiness is the measure of success. But if we really take a deep look at what happiness means, it is simply a feeling or emotion that one is feeling at that moment. If we look beyond happiness, there is life satisfaction. Life satisfaction looks at a person's feelings on their life. It examines the life comparing the things that they do have as well as what they wish they did have or would have been able to accomplish. While most of us live our lives in the way that makes us happy, there is still a part of us that makes decisions based on what we are expected to do. These can cause us to accept roles that we are expected to take strictly based on our gender. Gender roles are defined as a set of social norms dictating the types of behaviors which are generally considered acceptable, appropriate, or desirable for people based on their actual or perceived sex or sexuality. Conformity is defined as acting in accordance with social standards, attitudes, and practices. When are the ideas of gender roles introduced? The idea of gender roles is introduced to many of us as soon as our parents learn our gender. It starts with the idea that the baby girl's nursery should be certain colors such as pinks, yellows, and other light colors, while a baby boy's nursery should be dark colors such as blues, greens, and grays. Once a child is born, it is continued with the kind of clothes they are dressed in. Parents love to dress their little girls in dresses with big bows and fancy shoes, while their little boy is likely to be dressed in sports jerseys, jeans, and sneakers. Parents also are very particular about the kinds of toys that their children are given to play with. The idea of girls-only toys and boys-only toys can play a very strong role in what young boys and girls think are appropriate for them, as well as the role they believe is appropriate for those of the opposite gender. Young boys are expected to play with fake guns, balls, toys and trucks, construction tools, and Legos, while young girls are expected to play with makeup, dolls, and household appliances. When a group of adults was asked to describe what they considered boy-appropriate toys, they said toys that are considered violent, handy, and competitive. When these same adults were asked to describe girl-appropriate toys, they said toys that enhance physical attractiveness, domestic skills, and nurturance. I believe that this is because our society believes that being competitive, handy, and violent on some level are traditional masculine traits. They also believe that being concerned with physical attractiveness, having a nurturing demeanor, and being a good homemaker is considered womanly traits. Beyond toys, there are also movies that exhibit strong gender roles. Children's movies and television shows that are geared towards little boys tend to be about superheroes such as Spider-Man, Batman, and X-Men. These movies are about men with superpowers who save the world, while little girls' movies like Snow White, Cinderella, and Rapunzel are called fairy tales. They are all about girls who wait helplessly while a handsome prince shows up to save them from their horrible living conditions. We also have Beauty and the Beast, where Belle falls in love with the Beast who is holding her against her will. These actions are mimicked at playtime, and we often hear of little girls who are wishing for their Prince Charming. There are very few movies like Frozen and Brave that depict a female lead character as the main hero, and there are hardly any movies that are about a male main character who is waiting helplessly to be saved by a woman. Gender roles in the home. Even if we took away all outside influence of gender roles, whether we like to believe it or not, our children will still be exposed to some level of conformity within the home. When parents have strong feelings about traditional gender roles, the children do as well. Families with very strong beliefs in gender roles are typically made up of fathers who are the breadwinners. These families believe that it is the man's role to bring education and income to the family. In these homes, the division of power is also linked to the amount of household responsibility that one has. And this is almost always gender specific. The person who brings home the most money, likely the male in the home, has the least responsibilities when it comes to doing housework. Mothers in these environments will take on all childcare tasks, such as feeding, bathing, and dressing them, as well as all of the household cooking, cleaning, and grocery shopping. While these are tasks that mainly fall on the mother when she's a homemaker, they can also be her responsibility if the man in the house is working, regardless of her education level. It is frowned upon for a woman who works full-time to not come home and make sure that her family has a warm meal to eat and is taken care of. When passing on chores to their children, most parents will hand down tasks such as cooking and washing the dishes and doing laundry to their daughters, while their sons are giving chores such as mowing the lawn and taking out the garbage, if he's giving any chores at all. The effects of gender roles in academic life. Studies have shown that male students begin to outperform female students in math and sciences when they begin middle school. Middle school is also the point where male students link academia to self-worth, and where academic achievement becomes less important for female students. This can also be one of the reasons why women are dramatically underrepresented in fields that are math and science based. Feelings about academic success can shape a child's ideas about the appropriate career. There are some careers that are still seen as gender specific, such as teaching, truck driving, nursing, doctors, and engineers. When a girl shows interest in the health field, she is expected to become a nurse. However, when a boy shows interest in the health field, it is expected that he will become a doctor. When patients are treated in the hospital, it is common for them to expect that the male taking care of them is the doctor, while the female taking care of them is the nurse, even if it's clear that this is not the case. Even when it comes to the leader of a country, it is expected for this person to be a man. Just last year, our country elected a man to be our president who has no experience in politics over a woman who has 30 plus years of experience in the field. A study done on a group of middle school-aged children asked them to categorize common occupations as male-only, female-only, and gender neutral. Once the categories were made, the students were then asked to rate these jobs based on importance. Nursing was the only female-only job rated in the top 20. What happens when children do not conform? Pressure for children to conform to their expected gender roles starts just as early as the gender roles are being introduced. Parents find it hard to accept that their little girl would rather play with a Nerf gun than a toy vacuum. They believe that empowered women will somehow end up in homosexual relationships or find it hard to find a man to marry them and have children. They believe that it is undesirable for a woman who wants to wear the pants in a relationship to be in a relationship. They also find it hard to accept that their sons would rather practice pushing a baby stroller or changing diapers of a baby doll than to play with a Tonka truck. They believe that these types of nonconformity mean that their children will grow up to have other issues identifying with their appropriate sexuality, and that this is the early model for homosexuality. The fear is that a child who is gender deviant is somehow abnormal. While there certainly is a link between gender nonconformity and homosexuality, because a significant number of homosexual men admit to never being interested in stereotypical boy toys and activities, it is also shown that 25% of heterosexual men were also considered not masculine in their childhood. Because of this, there is no clear indicator that non-conforming children will grow up to be homosexual. What is clear is that not being able to dress the way you would like, play with what you would like, and be exactly who you are can do serious damage to your life satisfaction. In fact, 30% of transgendered youth have at least one suicide attempt, and almost 42% of all transgender youth have a history of self-harm. Non-conforming adults and perceived life satisfaction. There are many women who want nothing more than to be successful. They spend their late 20s and early 30s studying hard and dedicating themselves to making it into those careers that are considered male-dominant. However, they find themselves being plagued with questions about when they're going to get married and have children. Some of them are even ridiculed when they speak up about not wanting to get married or have children, because society believes that a woman's life is only meaningful if she is married and has children. The same can be said for men who are content being stay-at-home dads and taking care of home while their wife earns a living. These ideas of the way we are supposed to live our lives are imposed on us for our entire lives, but it is clear that putting these parameters on our children can be completely unfair to them. So what can we do? We can try our best to cut gender roles out of our lives, encourage our children to do what they like, watch what they like, and be whatever they would like to be growing up, and most of all, we can encourage acceptance.